Hey everyone, Chen here, bringing you guys another video. Today we have a very special video because you guys already know Akshan is getting a bunch of changes. So in this video, hopefully we break it down, do some brainstorming, stuff like that. If you guys enjoy, make sure to smash the like button, comment down what you are most excited to see, and let's get right into it. Starting off, we have a little bit of a spicy buff here, as you can see. Now, on face value, it kind of doesn't look like much. Akshan buffs Dirty Fighting. His passive damage now scales with 60% AP. And then his Q Avenger Rang movement speed also now scales with AP. As I mentioned, it doesn't look like much currently, but I do believe there are some capabilities for some weird, wonky Akshan builds. I know Nashers do have some synergy with him, believe it or not. So Nashers could definitely be an angle, and who knows, there could just be a whole bunch of brainstorming. I feel as if these type of changes, yes, they might not look like much at the start. They do allow for some very wonky theory crafting. Moving on, now, there are a whole lot of changes for items. I do want to just touch on Akshan specific items or items that could potentially affect Akshan. So obviously we're going to skip stuff like Echoes of Helia that you're never going to build. Or maybe you do. The AP actually matters. Who knows? I'm kidding, but let's start with Yuumi's Ghostblade here. As you can see, we're not going to look at the recipe. I don't really care for any of that. I just care strictly for the changes of the items and see if they are viable or not viable for Akshan. So Yuumi's Ghostblade, 60 AD, 18 lethality, 20 ability haste, has the active gain 25% movement speed and ghost. That's basically current Yoomoo's. And then during this time, you generate stacks 2 times faster. So what are stacks? Haunt. Gain up to 100 spectral shards while moving. Gain up to 50 movement speed out of champion combat based on the number of spectral shards. Okay, so basically, how I see this is Akshan is going to be a heavy roamer if you decide to build this. Keep in mind, this is a mythic, which is also a very important thing to notice. Alright? Now, the biggest thing about this is while at max shards, you gain 10 to 20 lethality. Okay, so that is obviously crazy. You're just gaining charges based on moving, which is absolutely insane. You gain stacks significantly faster if you just click on it, click on the active, right? And you're getting movement speed out of combat. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you, this could definitely be viable. And then also, shards will reset 4 seconds after dealing damage to an enemy champion. So it's not like you will lose that shard if they attack you first. You always want to consider that, because if you go first strike, for example, if they attack you first, you're going to lose a lot of its value. But this, you can't lose it. You simply move, you gain more movement speed based on the number of shards you have, and then at max shards, you just do insane amount of damage, which is really, really interesting. I do think you're going to see throughout this, I do think lethality Akshan might be back, believe it or not. These items are absolutely crazy on him, so Yoomoo's definitely could be an angle, especially for mid. If you're playing top Akshan, first off, what are you doing? Second off, they're probably not going to affect you too much. Moving on, Duskblade of Draktharr. I don't know how to pronounce that, to be honest. It is reworked, but honestly, it's not really too new when I read this a little bit earlier. 60 AD, 18 lethality, 20 ability haste. The ability kind of looks the same. Your abilities deal up to additional 15% damage. Basically, it's not going to do anything. Don't build this. Moving on, we have Prowler's Claw. After dashing, blinking, or exiting stealth, your next attack on a champion deals an additional X amount of damage. Physical damage. If dealt by a melee champion, this attack also slows the target. So, unfortunately, I really wish they didn't add this part. If dealt by a melee champion, I wish they just had this as for everyone and kept this damage difference. But because they added this, I do think this item is going to be less optimal. If you are going for some wonky lethality, I do believe Yoomoo's is just too broken not to go. But there are synergy points with Prowler's Claw. Like, you do need to experiment and see if it's actually viable or not. Because, as you guys know, Akshan does dash, he does exit stealth, and he likes to do a bunch of damage. So, this could easily work for him. I feel as if the biggest thing swaying me away is just comparing it to Yoomoo's. Like, Yoomoo's has 5 extra AD and 3 extra lethality, and fucking 10 to 20 extra lethality just for fucking walking, right? I don't know if this extra damage is actually going to end up mattering, but once again, something you can playtest. Like, The biggest thing I want to stress to you guys isn't necessarily if these items are good on him or not. I care more about having more variety, having more chances. If they can be good, then that is good for me. So I will be very interested to try that out. Moving on, Mythic Guinsoo's Rageblade. So they made Guinsoo's Rageblade a Mythic now. It is doing 30 attack damage, 30 ability power, and 25% of attack speed. So remember when I was saying how the Akshan buffs up there about his AP ratio might be a little sus? Well, here's why. I think they were kind of trying to redirect him towards this angle, and I can see it. I fuck with it. Like, Guinsoo's Rageblade currently, at its current iteration, isn't a really good item. Most of you will agree on that. If you're going on hit, you kind of don't want to build it, but also want to build it as well, just because it synergizes so well with on hit. But now, you're kind of getting a lot of good stuff. AP isn't even like a bad stat on Akshan, right? It helps in his passive, more specifically than anything else, but it's still not a bad stat for him. And look at this. Wrath. Attacks apply 30 magic damage on hit. Your critical strike chance is converted into up to 200 more. That is a lot of magic damage going out, and I honestly fuck with it. Now, the more interesting part of this Guinsoo's Rageblade change is that basic attacks will now grant 8% attack speed, but it stacks up 4 times for a maximum of 32 attack speed, and then when fully stacks, every third attacks apply your on-hit effects twice, which is absolutely insane. Like I said, you can see a lot of weird stuff with that passive change, that Akshan buff that might have looked a little bit troll at first, but paired with Guinsoo's might actually be crazy. Like, imagine proccing a bunch of damage twice and having, what was it, extra, I believe it was extra damage and extra movement speed off of the passive that they buffed for Akshan. So, definitely viable. What I am interested to see, that I'm actually not too certain about, is whether Seething Strike procs off of his E. If it does, and you can stack your E instantly, stack this passive instantly through one, I don't think it does, but if it does, then Akshan's fucking giga broken, right, with this item, and it is a must build. Moving on to IE, I'm actually interested at what they did with this item. I didn't think they would go for this route, but I don't really like it. In my opinion, I feel as if a Mythic, all Mythics should kind of be rushable because they offer a different power spike compared to a Legendary item, right? This don't really look too powerful as a standalone item. Why is that? There's 0 attack speed, right? Most people who would build IE second is because they have a first item that gives them attack speed, right? You're never going to see really a champ that builds IE second where their first item wasn't really attack speed. It just, you want attack speed and then you want giga damage, right? Seeing this, I don't really fuck with it, and I don't think it's actually going to be too viable on Akshan. I could be wrong. That's why we're just theory crafting here, but it amplifies crit, sure. But in terms of a rush item, I don't see it as being a rush item, which inherently puts the item worse than a lot of other items, right? And even then, if you build it second or third, you're not getting an insane trade-off that, you know, makes you really want to go it second or third, in my opinion. At least compared to Guinsoo's Rageblade. Mythic Navori, I saw this earlier and I genuinely, it just looks like trash, so I'm not going to really mention it. Static Shiv is back. Akshan doesn't really struggle with late clear, doesn't really care about doing any of this, but once again, adding variety, you know, potential of viable options is still very good, so maybe I can try this and maybe it feels really good and I like it. Who knows? Legendary Immortal Shieldbow, this honestly is pretty big in my opinion. I think this could be viable for Akshan now. I could easily see some weird builds like Nashor's Guinsoo Shieldbow, right? Some weird shit, like, that's what I'm saying though. There's so much variety. You guys should all feel very happy. There's so much theory crafting needing to go on right now with these changes. I'm actually just super excited, but I don't know where to even start. Like, I do feel as if on-hit's going to be the best, and this is obviously more of a crit-oriented item, but just the fact that he can go this item now is really, really good. Beforehand, he obviously wanted the Kraken, so he could never go Shieldbow, right? Gale Force is still a mythic. It's still the mythic you all love it, and you know, you all just love, right? Nothing really changed about it, at least I believe. Yeah, I think nothing changed about it, to be honest. I think the Mythic passive right now gives more movement speed. They probably just changed that, but is what it is. Legendary Kraken Slayer, guys. 10-minute video. Okay. Kraken Slayer, bring it down. Every third attack applies 20 bonus magic damage. Additional triggers on the same effect within 6 seconds. Increases damage by 50. So, I mean, how can you not love this item? I'm reading this item and I'm thinking immediately Akshan, right? Every third attack applies extra damage. So obviously his E is going to proc that a whole bunch of times. And then additional triggers on the same target within 6 seconds increase this damage by 50%. Kraken Slayer RFC angle? Question mark? That looks insane to me. I genuinely... I'm just so excited. There's so many new items to try, guys. Akshan was truthfully... He was lacking because his on-hit was significantly, you know, go-to, and then he had a pretty shit crit build that he could maybe run, unless you were running poke build, which, low-key, I was the only real Akshan player running that, but now we have so much theory crafting, so much different playstyles that we could test around, so many different items, and I'm super excited. RFC changes, moving, blah, blah, blah. This kind of just basically looks like how it looks right now. I believe they added attack damage to it, which I fuck with, honestly. And yeah, that just looks basically the same. Stormrazor changes. I was reading this on stream today and I was crying. They changed this so miserably. I believe they added more AD to it. I believe that's it though, for stat-wise. And then they changed this, where now it applies bonus magic damage, which was basically what it already applied. I think they changed the ratio, but that doesn't really matter. And it grants movement speed, man. That is so sad. The reason why you build this on Akshan is to actually slow the enemy, not so you get movement speed. Akshan doesn't really care about movement speed 99% of the time, but slowing the enemy into RFC, into Q, bunch of damage, that's what actually mattered, at least for the poke build, but this is really sad to see. As the poke build pioneer, I really hate to see this, but there's just a whole bunch of other changes, so I can't be too sad about it. LDR changes, honestly, I read this and I don't even know what it necessarily does. I believe it makes it so tanks can't really itemize against you. Whatever. We're gonna skip that. And guys, I believe that comes to the end. Obviously, Bloodthirster changes are a little bit crazy. I read this and I remember. 55 attack damage, 20% crit, 18% lifesteal. While above 50% health, gain an additional 10 to 40 attack damage. So if you remember, similar with, what was it? It was the long range one. I believe something that hit long range. Was it Prowler? I think it was a lethality thing. It's this, right? You're coming out, you're doing increased lethality, and then you can have what... I don't know, guys. Like I said, there's so many wonky things you could just do now, I feel. So many interesting things you could try. I really don't know. Collector change, let's look at this real quick. I believe they just made it have higher lethality. Sure, we'll take that. Maybe there's some fucking collector lethality change, lethality build you could go. They did nerf Zeal, which does kind of suck, but honestly, it doesn't really affect Akshan too much. Phantom Dancer change, we can read this real quick. I believe they just... Okay, it's basically the same. And anyways, that, I believe, is it. I mean, Runedanc's, do I really have to read over this? Like, come on, it's Runedanc's. Akshan doesn't need this, but... That is it, guys. Hopefully you guys are excited. There's like 10 to fucking 13 different items for Akshan to try. Even if they didn't change a specific item, for example, like, let's say... Fuck, I can't think on the top of my head, but... What did they not change? Okay, I mean, they basically changed all of Akshan's items, did they not? I think they did. Yeah, they basically just changed every single item for Akshan, genuinely. So there's so many playtest things to test around and see what is the best. I'm super stoked for these changes, even if Akshan ends up in a net nerf in terms of where he feels in the power level, because you have to keep in mind, these buffs also affect assassins and AD carries, probably a lot better than Akshan, to be honest, but it doesn't matter. Just the thrill of playtesting and learning what is best and isn't is going to be a lot of fun. With that being said, guys, definitely check out my stream, twitch.tv/ChenChen53. I will be testing these non-stop. Theory crafting, fucking coming up with some weird-ass concoctions. I don't know, Nashor's Tooth, Everfrost, Akshan. I'm excited, man. I don't know what will be good, what won't, but we're here for it, and hopefully you guys are as well. Anyways, that is it for the video. 15-minute video, a bit of a long one, but hopefully you guys can see my excitement. Hopefully you guys are excited as well. I think I already said that. I don't know, man. Anyways, that is it for the video. If you enjoyed, make sure to smash the like button. Comment down what is the most exciting for you guys, what you're most excited to play. Comment down also some theory crafts you want to see videos / streams of. I am here for it. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next video. Chen out.